We say we've gone through 3 phases, and so the first phase was providing capital to social purpose-built, what we call purpose-built social enterprises. So businesses designed around the concept of employing people who face employment barriers. We have had some great successes from that, including sort of a tier of property management with a property management company in Vancouver that employs people from the downtown east side, a renovation company in Winnipeg that employs urban aboriginals, a bicycle courier company in Toronto that hires directly from youth shelters, and a series of 9 thrift stores in Montreal that hire right off the social assistance payrolls. They are all profitable, providing 300 jobs to people who wouldn't have had them otherwise. They proved one of the things we wanted to prove, which is you can make these double bottom line enterprises work. And similar to Van City, when we provided loans, they've been repaid. But as Derek was saying, when we stepped back and said, where are we 5 years in, we said, we're an interesting magazine article. In 5 years, we provided 300 jobs. What's 300 jobs in the global scheme of things? We said to ourselves, how do we change the landscape? Led us to phase 2, because we said to change the landscape, we got to do 2 things. One, we got to engage the private sector in what we were doing. Up until then, we've been mining, if you like, for deal flow in the nonprofit sector, and we thought, if we're going to scale this to the kind of impact we want to have, we got to engage the private sector, even though it'll be harder. The second thing we said is we got to make this more cookie cutter, because startups are hard, and startups are even harder with this model. And we can only do 1 deal a year with this thing because we got to get right into the business and try and figure out how to make it work. So we said to ourselves, private sector cookie cutter, what about franchising, where we don't have to figure out the business? So we approached a number of franchisors, went with the value proposition saying, we'll provide subordinate debt capital to entrepreneurs who want to buy a franchise. We'll make it the money they normally have to get from friends and family, but our conditions will look a bit different. So to get our money, they have to agree to hire a significant percentage of their entry-level employees through community service agencies. But our covenant back to those entrepreneurs is we say, we'll find you a job-ready pool of candidates to choose from. We don't deliver on that covenant. You don't have to deliver on your covenant to hire. It's basically the value proposition. Went out to a bunch of franchisors. Most said, sounds great, where's your proven model? We're not being your guinea pigs. But we found this one organization called Active Green and Ross, which if you're from Southern Ontario, you might be familiar with them. But they're a car service company, so you can get your oil change brakes fixed, buy your winter tires there. They've got 80 outlets in Southern Ontario, owned by an Italian immigrant who thought people helped him along the way, thought this was an interesting model. So he said, okay, we'll do a pilot with you. Got a company-owned store in Hamilton, run by a guy who's very community-minded, couldn't dream of coming up with enough dough to buy his own franchise. Why don't you step? He likes you like him, he agrees to your conditions. You can provide the finance to turn that into a franchise. How our methodology works is we then go into Hamilton and say, who are the best community service agencies here? Who are the ones that we got to treat the business as the customer, not the individual as being employed, and that way we'll actually employ more individuals. Long story short, 5 hires, they worked, and a longer story short, because I've got to get through phase 3, is we're up to 21 Active Green and Ross franchises now, where we're providing the financing in return for them using our social hiring. And we have 3 others now. We have the proven model, more importantly, where Mr. Lube, Nurse Next Door, We Care have all said, okay, we'll do a pilot with you and we'll take it across our net. Interesting enough, where did Andrew go? In terms of resilient capital looking for a deal flow, we now have, where did he go? How did you do that? We now have sort of a portfolio of $1.5 million worth of these loans. We don't have one interest payment overdue. We actually tie our interest rates, by the way, to the number of social hires, so it's not related to prime. They start at 9%, they can work their way down to 5% the faster they make these social hires. But interesting enough, it led us to phase 3, because a couple things happened. One is Active Green Ross said, okay, we're going to use this in our company-owned stores. Now we thought, well, that's interesting. We thought we needed the financing as the carrot and stick to make this happen. We offer the carrot of attractive financing, we have to stick up, we'll call your loan. You don't do this. They said, no, you found this new labor pool, they're working out, this is the right thing to do for the community. We had another franchisor do a pilot with us. I say do a pilot with us. Long story short, we said, don't sign up with us right away, work with us for a month. All right, 1 minute. And So we introduced them to the Y because we worked with the Y in this particular location. A month later, he came back and said, I'm not signing up with you. My bank that's financing me in Oshawa is more than happy to finance me in Scarborough, but I'm going to keep using the Y. You know, now instead of 85 responses, I get 6 pre-qualified, and I end up, you know, selecting the one I want, and then can refer them to the job coach at Y to connect them with English, second language, blah, blah, blah. That's when we realized, wait a second, the big idea here is not hundreds of franchises, thousands of jobs, which we still think it is, and we're still going to work on that. But we think the big idea is changing the way the HR function works in companies that have lots of entry-level employees. Because right now, those companies won't invest in their entry-level employees. They'll invest in their senior management, their middle management, but they won't put more than a half-day on-the-job training into their entry-level employees. And we say, well, wait a sec. And yet, what they don't realize is that those services are out there in the community service agent, but these dots aren't getting connected. And we think we understand why the dots aren't connected. So we put together a business plan around what we call Change HR, which is phase 3, where it's all about reverse engineering the way things work. And our vision is 10 years from now, 80% of financial close 500 companies will have integrated an HR, a social hiring practice into their HR function. It will be actually being delivered by the Workopolises of the world, the Adecos of the world, who we are engaging in this. We will, and we've got a technology piece, I better not go into it all, but it might come out in the questions. But we really think what we've moved from is this purpose-built to reverse engineer. And it's not about ownership. We don't want to own this. We want to do the pioneering, prove the model works. But we think the way you can have, our goal is to say, how do we significantly increase the number of jobs for people who face employment barriers? And we think it's marshaling and harnessing the existing systems, delivery systems, and value chains out there that is the way to do it, and that's what we're putting together a plan. Not bad.